Andy, I am back on the East Coast. I'm back, baby.
Welcome back. Welcome back. The right coast, Dave. The right coast to be on. Good work. Good work.
Yeah, I mean it just is like it's hard when the 3 hour thing, especially if we work with people on the East Coast, like you're up on their hours and
Yeah,
then you're like still working your regular hours. So it's like you're working time and a half or something. So
you're back. Back to the East Coast. Things are good. The Atlantic Ocean is on your left or right, I guess, depending on whichever way you're standing, but it's there, and you're
it's
back.
It is definitely there. And the temperature here is getting to be quite nice. You know, that 60s, 70s, that definitely that spring weather. And I have to tell you, like, there's nothing better than spring in Charlotte. Well, I think fall in Charlotte's really good too, but like it's just lovely. Now it gets hot with the humidity in the July and August, but
Yeah.
I mean it is quite lovely in March and April. Do you have any like spring things that are you a big St. Patrick's Day person, Andy?
Dave, I'm not Irish. I've never gotten excited about St. Patrick's Day. I don't need to wear green. Please, God, don't pinch me. No, I St.
Did your
Patrick's.
kids ever do like want to do like leprechaun traps or anything?
No, I never did that.
I'm formulating ours now, so we're developing ours now too. So instead of trying to trick the leprechaun, I think we're taking a new tack this year. We're going to try to like be nice to him and let him give us his gold because everyone else is trying to trick him. He's going to say, "Hey, these guys are nice. I'm going to give him some gold." So
Smart. You're gonna lure him in. Lure him in.
I'm going to try. They're going to definitely try.
Is this a long time Pounder family tradition of leprechaun traps? Or is like a modern day innovation that you've come up with for your child?
I mean, I'm not Irish either. I'm not O Pounder or a Pounder Shaughnessy or something. You know, again, no disrespect to our Irish listeners, but we're not Irish, but we have a long history in this household of trying to get that leprechaun. So,
Yeah, it's a cute tradition. I'm not familiar with that one. You know, as a
yeah,
kid, I mean, it's always wear green to school, right? That was the thing. You have to wear green to school. But I've since I just don't get excited. I can tell you, I think it's still a great excuse for people to go out and drink and party. I just don't partake.
okay. All right, do you drink Guinness, Andy, by chance? I mean,
So presently I'm not allowed to drink presently due to my health stuff. But when I do drink, I do like a Guinness. I'm a bigger fan. I like Guinness. It's got a nice thick taste to it. I love the foamy head of a Guinness. But I've always been a fan of like dark red beers. Do you like red
oh,
beers?
yeah, yeah.
I think it goes back to I'll say perhaps days before I was legally allowed to drink when there's like a real uh, big burst of red beers, right? There was Red Bull or not Red Bull, Red Dog, and just like
There's
Red Ice.
Killian's Irish Red, you know, like
Killian's was the top of the
yeah.
top for those, right? And it was really popular, and they kind of fizzled away. And I've looked, a few times, like, can you order them? In certain areas, you can still order a Red Dog, but it's like very local distribution. And I don't think Killian's is around anymore. I don't think. But like, if you go to a bar now and you ask for like, hey, do you got anything red on tap? A lot of times they're looking at you like, what are you talking about? And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
that was good beer.
I agree. I'm not a Guinness fan. I don't like the thicker beer. It tastes nasty to me, but I do like a good red. In St. Augustine, there's a St. Augustine brewery that started up down there while we were there, and they had a nice red there. And that was good. So Ann and I really enjoyed having those, but good stuff there. So yeah, oh, yeah, okay. All right. Anything else, Andy, you want to start with here?
Hey, well, speaking since we're talking beverages, so
Yeah.
speaking of beverages, Dave, I'm a big coffee and tea drinker, as I think you know, right? So I usually start my morning with 2 to 3 rounds of coffee, and then I transition to 1 or 2 rounds of tea, and then wrap my day up with tea, and usually a couple coffees in between. But one thing we both always appreciate Arnold newsletter, and they're big enthusiasts of sort of a pro coffee bend. Yesterday, they shared a recent study, and they share a lot of sort of data backed, scientific studies, researches. There's always things going on, and coffee being as popular as it is always being looked at by somebody. Yesterday, I'm just going to quote this little portion. It says, scientists analyzed the behaviors of more than 390,000 people and found that a moderate intake of coffee and tea was associated with up to 35% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and chronic respiratory disease. So, while beer has its positives and can obviously have its negatives, just always happy to promote good coffee and tea drinking. I think they're underappreciated, and besides the perk it gives you, through your day, there's actually a good health benefit to drinking both.
Yeah, what I love about the Arnold Pump newsletter stuff when they do those studies, because they always say the headlines, they always burst the headlines. The headlines where you're like, red meat is going to cause you to
Yeah,
die 50 years earlier. And what they do in this, and when they break down these studies, is and they don't do like this exhaustive breakdown. They put it in real simple terms for people to read. Is
yeah,
basically, it's like, yeah, red meat, if you consume it every meal of the day for 30 days straight over a period, like, yes, it's going to kill you.
yeah,
But I think what they've been continually trying to say is there are benefits to a lot of these things in moderation or
yeah.
with the right application. And I think that's what I always appreciate about that Arnold letter newsletter. I thought you were going to go with something like coffee would reduce your dementia ability to, or would postpone your ability to go to get dementia earlier or whatever it is, because as we have our political candidates as they are. So, ba 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 da da. Anyways, that's my joke of the day, Andy. So it's a sad. Well, I guess let's do a quick hit on 2024, the election real quick, and then we got to get to the House of the Dragon, Andy. I want to talk about House of the Dragon. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
every time we touch 2024, if my soul was a billion jigsaw puzzle pieces, one of those puzzle pieces, like Thanos, snaps into space and just disappears and dies. Every time you have to talk about the 2024 election, have to do it. Important topic. A little part of me dies every single time. It's a painful reality for America today.
All right, so well, let's just not let those puzzle pieces get too bad for you, Andy. On the front for the first part, Nikki Haley dropped out, so she officially suspended her campaign, which is code for "I'm leaving the campaign." Dean Phillips on the Democrat side dropped out.
Whoa, earthquake. I'm feeling the earthquake.
I
Whoa,
know you can feel
whoa.
that. You can feel that tremor go. And then you now, so now you have the one-on-one that everybody was
Hey,
dreading.
Marianne Williamson is back, Dave.
I
Hey, don't minimize. In all my life, Dave, I've never seen a candidate unsuspend a campaign. Marianne Williamson unsuspended her campaign. She's making a run for Joe Biden. It's not over yet. So don't count those chickens till the eggs hatch, Dave.
Yeah, I know we've got that challenge. So fair enough, Andy. Okay, so with that, you now have the one-on-one matchup that nobody wants.
Yeah.
But the question now comes is I'm still holding out for that contested convention thing, but nevertheless, you usually start working on the debates, Andy. Like the debates are a big part going back to, you know, for all time, I guess the debates have always been important. You can remember the Kennedy Nixon, the 5 o'clock shadow that people will point to that says Nixon. The television screen made them look like they have the 5 o'clock shadow. You have all these other classic debates, vice presidential debates, Andy, with Lloyd Benson's telling young Dan Quayle, "You are no JFK, John F. Kennedy." Yeah,
Classic moment. Classic moment.
you got some great lines in there, Andy. But the question of the day is, will there be a debate, Andy? I mean, can you imagine what these debates are going to look like? I mean, are they going to walk up with canes and walkers, or and then on the debate stage? Like, what are we going to do here? You're going to have rambling, incoherent Trump versus stalling, delaying, looking ghostly. I think Biden sometimes looks like you remember in Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, where the guy drinks the cup, the Grail, and it's the wrong cup, and his face becomes back, all the hair grows out, and he looks like I guess it's similar to like Tales from the Crypt or whatever. Anyways, you have those going on. What's your thoughts on the debate schedule, Andy?
So, they've both said that they might not do debates. I think it'd be un-American for these two guys to not get up there and give America a chance to see them sort of exchange ideas outside of their pep rallies and talking points. So I think they should do it. I don't know if they will, right? I mean, now Biden is, or I'm sorry, Trump is rah rah. Let's debate. For a while, he was saying he wouldn't. I think Biden will want to get in there with him and mix it up. To be honest, I just think there's a fighter in him that sort of wants to take him on. I still think the really curious thing will be, the debate commission, which is Republicans and Democrats together, right? So they have an interest in keeping it as Republicans and Democrats. They don't care to have a third person on that stage. But I still think an interesting X factor is that third or maybe even fourth candidate. If they can get to the thresholds, usually around like 5% or something along those lines to make the debate stage, that changes to me everything. Because I think, what America always misses is not having that third option up there is you're only looking at these two clowns, and it's been two clowns for a little bit here. If you have to see somebody that's a little bit younger and coherent debating with those two, I think that really can change things up a little bit in 2024. So I think the debates will happen. Yeah, I think there will be at least one debate. What I'm hoping for is that there's a third candidate or fourth candidate on that stage, and I think that can drive the election bonkers. And I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think it'd be yeah, it would be nice if we could do that, but I just because I think having that third person on there who would clearly be like 20 years younger would like throw things in such a you could see you would be able to very easily contrast the styles, right? I think that's going to be the big difference, and I think people unfortunately I don't think people want to see that. So I mean, or the powers that be who would do that wouldn't want to see it. So all right, well, that'd be interesting to see as we go forward with the election. Andy, there's some pretty crazy conspiracy theories around the election as well. There's a lot of people who were around Super Tuesday, a lot of people. So was that one of your sounds, or did you make something weird? No?
I think that's just me being a human. I'm sorry, but I do have sounds up today, Dave. So
Oh, okay, you
while
had
you
some.
mocked me for my simple sound effects, yeah.
I thought I heard like a Swiper the Fox tail swipe thing in the
Yeah.
background. I was like, because I said conspiracy theory and I thought the Swiper the Fox thing came up. Anyways, uh, there's some conspiracy theories about like people who were allowed to vote or not allowed to vote and what was put on the news and not on the news.
Yeah.
Andy, this is gonna be high tide or we're coming up to this is going to be a lot of stuff coming at us real quick. There's going to be a lot of these disinformation, deep fakes. We kind of talked about that a little earlier. Um, so just interested to see you play out. Any thoughts on the conspiracy theories, Andy?
I mean, there's a lot of nonsense. I mean, there was, talk on, I think it was on Tuesday, Super Tuesday, as Meta had a brief interruption. A lot of talk of, hey, this is a dry run for election day, right? They're trying to practice taking comms down.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So I think the reality is this: the day after the election, if Donald Trump has not been elected, you're going to have a lot of people saying that the election was rigged, it was stolen, it's not legitimate. It's going to be a close election no matter what. And so you're going to have to be like America has to deal with the reality that if Trump loses, you're going to hear a lot of people, going nuts that he didn't really lose. The stage is set for that. That's going to happen. I'm not looking forward to that moment.
yeah, it's going to be really bad. I mean, it's going to be quite bad. So, all right, we've talked more. We've lost one of your puzzle pieces today, Andy. So hey, Andy, you like the Jurassic Park movies, right?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah. So there's a pretty interesting story that came out this week about a scientist. This has long been discussed as scientific breakthroughs happen so
yeah,
often.
yeah,
This has long been discussed as they get these fossilized remains of extinct animals with
yeah.
some still some DNA in them. Can they extract that DNA and recreate or make these extinct animals distinct? I guess I think is the right word. But there's work on like the woolly mammoth, Andy. How are you feeling about maybe the woolly mammoth coming back?
I'm not feeling good about it, Dave. I mean, one, I like the term destinct. That's kind of what I need after working out. I need to get destinct because I usually smell pretty bad. But like the idea that we're really trying to bring back the woolly mammoth, like like Jurassic Park doesn't go well, right? It's not a good story, right? We don't need to recreate extinct prehistoric creatures, that roam the earth. Not woolly mammoths, not dinosaurs, not some ancient mosquito that's going to bring some kind of disease that it took with it to the grave and now infect humanity again. Like it's terrible to see creatures die off in the modern environment because we've destroyed rainforests or whatever else. Might be like that's a bad thing. We should avoid that 100%. But those that are long gone, let them rest in peace, man. We don't need to bring them back. I really think it opens up a dangerous can of worms. I don't think it's experiments we want to get into. Like we don't know what those animals have with them. We don't know what disease could potentially come up from them. Like they're gone. Let them rest. Let them go. Don't bring back the dinosaurs. We don't need Jurassic Park. I just think it's one of those science. It's such a Frankenstein science experiment, so rife with potential dangers and just unnecessary. Like move forward, don't look back. That applies to so much of our lives. Let the past be the past. Always move forward. Let the mammoth be a thing of our history, Dave.
Well, you know how this is going to play out too is they're going to make these things. They're going to say, "Hey, we're going to put them in a zoo or confined space," and then after a little while, it's going to be like, "Hey, no, need to let them roam in the wild.
Free roaming, free roam.
We need to let them go out there." And then you have these people, these big woolly mammoths out there. It's going to be quite interesting how it works. And then somebody like who's got Elon Musk size money, not to say you would do this, but somebody with that size of money could very easily then say, "Hey, I'm going to build this preserve, and I'm going to put these people out there, and we're going to."
Sorry.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. All right, Andy, last couple minutes here. Let's talk do pop culture shows, TV shows coming out. We've talked about some of the things that we're not watching on TV. Something I think we will both be watching is House of the Dragon, Andy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you feeling about there's a new trailer that came out, House of the Dragon. I think it's coming out in June this year. The first season was a little interesting. They did a lot of they for the purposes of the story, they had to jump ahead like years at a time.
Yeah.
But I think it ended really strong, Andy, as it did. What are you thinking on how are you feeling about House of the Dragon returning?
I mean, it got it. It took its time, and they've taken their time to get there. It's been a little bit of a break, but I think it's good. I mean, like I said, I was very late to House of Dragon to forgive me, Game of Thrones. Now, my wife had watched it. She told me how great it was. I had no interest. She finally got me to watch it. I was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool, right? So I enjoyed it. House of Dragon came out shortly after we wrapped that up, and I thought, one, it's really hard to follow a highly successful show with a really good show, right? Oftentimes, those kind of show sequels stink. So the first year it was a lot of time jumping, but I think it was really just a transition, right? Getting us from a storyline to a new storyline, setting things up. I think they did a good job. So I think the first season really sort of just prepped whatever's to follow. And I think it's in a good place. I think it's going to be a good show. I think the acting, I think, was very good. I think visually it was fun to watch. It wasn't as full of like constant sex as Game of Thrones was. There was still a lot of sex in it, but it wasn't as like, oh my gosh, what the hell is going on my screen right now as Game of Thrones was. So I thought they did a good job. I'm looking forward to season two. I look forward to watching it. Hey, dragons are awesome, right? Fantasy is awesome. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point about after Game of Thrones, which was for the first six seasons, everyone was in love with, and then the seventh and eighth season, I think people started getting a little more concerned, especially as those episodes shrunk in number but increased in like time. It
Yeah,
was like an hour and 15 minutes, but only six episodes, especially when the books weren't fully written either, and they had to conclude a show that the author just refuses to write the remaining parts of the story. But they came in and they had to look. If you read the books, and I'm not saying I have, my wife has read all of them. But if you read the books, the house of this piece is a very small part of the book. There's not a whole lot of material.
yeah,
It's just it is there, but there's not like four or five books about the house, the house of the Targaryens. So there's just enough that you can build upon it, and but you have to jump in time, and I think that was the biggest rub for season one. You had to tell a lot of backstory to get to the real story that you want to do, and
Yeah,
then it starts to slow down. And I think that at the end of the first season, it started to slow down a little bit. They started to be able to, now we know the like the bad. We saw enough of the character development that we know who's good and who's bad, or who we like and who we don't like.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then as we go into this season, hopefully it'll be more in line with a normal time that a show goes into. But it ended, I won't do spoiler alerts to let people catch up on the other part. It ended on a very like like a tough ending. There's a lot of like bad things that happen to people, and as Game of Thrones typically does, it surprises you. But I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm going to enjoy watching it. The other part I think about the first season was it went up head to head against the Lord of the Rings story or that Amazon had put out. And so people, I think, were caught in between. Should I watch Game of Thrones or should I watch Lord of the Rings? Even though you can watch both, people were a little bit torn on where they were going to go, and you had to pick one or the other. This time, not so much around. There's no. I don't even know if Lord of the Rings is going to come back out with another season of their show,
yeah.
even though that was, I thought, pretty decent as well. But I mean, I'm looking forward to watching it, Andy. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it'll be fun. I think the acting was good, even for the characters sort of were just part of that transition to the final set of actors. I think there was good ones. I think one of them was Millie Alcock. I think her name is the one of the younger versions of one of the main characters. She's not going to be Supergirl in the new James Gunn DC universe. I think it's kind of cool, but I think it's just they cast very well, and I think the
Yeah,
actors play their roles very well, which is just always whether it's a comedy or a drama or fantasy, when you get the right people in the right role, it just makes a show work, even if you don't really necessarily care for the genre of the show. I think one thing they've done really well, both in Game of Thrones and now in House of Dragon, is they get really good people to play the right role, and that makes such a
yeah.
difference.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna make something to look forward to on TV. I still haven't gone back into Masters of the Air. I heard it's getting better, so I have to get in and watch that. There's some other I just don't like I nothing is really calling to me right now. I don't think there's that one show that is really people have been talking about Shogun on FX.
Yeah.
So I need to maybe check that out. That's supposed to be really good as well. So we'll see, Andy. So, Andy, anything new on the Friday music front, the Friday drop front?
I haven't
Anything?
gotten there yet, Dave. Having a chance to get in there yet. I'm looking forward to diving in this morning. It was pretty good last week. We'll see where things go this week. So I'll check it out and look forward to sharing any relevant updates with you here soon. But it's good to see a lot of bands out there touring. A lot of the bands we grew up with have released albums. I think one of the ones I've seen consistently, the Black Crowes have been out there. They've been on the media circuit a little bit. I enjoy the two songs that come out on their new album that's forthcoming in its full release. They've been really fun to listen to. And I was listening. I've got a little Black Crowes greatest hits playlist that I have, and it's fun to hear these guys' voices mature from
Yeah,
the young guys they were when they first come out to the you know perfectly aged men our age that they are today. And you listen and like Chris Robinson, good vocals, and I like his vocals better now than I did back then. And so it's fun to hear the artists grow up and mature. Still a great sound, so I've been enjoying that. But I'll see what's new as the day goes on.
yeah. All right. Well, sounds good, Andy. Any exciting plans for the weekend?
Not talking to you, not working.
Yeah.
Those are my
There we
plans.
go. There we
Those are
go.
my plans.
All right. I'm going to be doing yard work this weekend, Andy. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'll be doing some yard work, putting some mulch down, I think, and putting some flowers out. Probably.
nice.
It's spring is here, Andy.
I know.
Spring is here.
Yeah, looking forward. It's almost time to spring forward. Is always taking the L on that one, but it is nice. The
Yeah.
spring is here. Got the windows open. I got the garage door open when I'm working out. It just the world is a better place when it's not winter. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Andy. With that, good week, good travel week, I guess for me. But now back at home, and I'm excited to um, be back on this podcast as always with you on a Friday. So with that, Andy, I'll catch up with you next time.